Dear students, today we'll see another functionality of Python programming. Till last class, which we learned all the basic things up to functions, the way how we can make use functions and debugging and all, which we saw. Now we are moving towards the controlling of an application, different kinds of with the way how we can control based on our requirement of Python programming. Before getting into it, we should know that what is the planning. See, any application which you want to write, you should have some planning related to that application. Whatever we wish to do, whether in real life or in coding, it requires planning. It is important to be able to plan code with the use of self-explanatory tools like flowcharts. Even though you can code without a plan, it is not a good practice to start coding without a guide to follow. So even though you are able to write a program, but without planning, so it is not good habit of practicing programming. That is what people used to say. So here planning which takes place here, it was given flowchart. So before getting into the flowchart, there is another term also which you can say algorithm, an algorithm. Okay. So now first we will see the plan. A good plan which requires a good plan which takes place like creates a guide you can follow. So once you plan, which helps you to follow the things which you want to do and which you want to complete. So helps you plan an efficient structure, which helps you plan an efficient structure. Helps which helps communicate to others what your code will do, what exactly your application will do. Okay. So a standard way to plan code is with flowcharts. So before getting into the flowchart, so flowchart is nothing but which is a pictorial representation of a task. Okay, which we call it as flowchart. Before getting into it, we will see that what is an algorithm. Okay, so an algorithm is an effective method expressed as a finite list of well-defined instructions for calculating a function starting from an initial state and initial input. The instructions describe a computation which will eventually produce output when executed. So we can use algorithm to solve any kind of problems. However, before writing a program, we need to write the steps to solve the problem in simple English language. Now, the algorithm which will help you to make use of the steps the way how you want to calculate your application, the things the way how you want to proceed to complete your task. Simplest way you can say an algorithm is the step by step procedure to solve the problem is called an algorithm. So step by step procedure to solve the problem is called solving the problem is called an algorithm. Now let us take one simple real-time example. General English language. The algorithm will be written general English language and which will be converted to your programming language. Okay, that is what which we call it as an algorithm. Example, let us take one simple day-to-day example by writing algorithm for making Maggi noodles as a food. So how I can prepare for Maggi noodles as a food? So let's start that. Okay, so a step by step process. First, step 1 start. Step 2 take a pan with water. Step 3 put pan on the burner. Step 4 switch on the gas or burner. Step 5 put Maggi and masala. Step 6 give 2 minutes to boil. Step 7 take off the pan. Step 8 take out the Maggi with the help of fork or spoon. Step 9 put the Maggi on the plate and serve it. Step 10 stop. See, to prepare Maggi noodles as a food, there are different steps which we follow to make that as a proper food. Okay. Further, the way of execution of the program shall be categorized into three ways. Same manner, the way how we prepared Maggi noodles as a food, same manner in our programming also, we take the step-by-step process to calculate the result. Okay, so there are, based on the program, so it was categorized into three types of ways. The statements which was defined, those are called sequence statements, selection statements, and iteration or looping statements. This is also called as control structure. Iteration or looping statements, it is also called as control structure. Now, so let us proceed another one, step by step, all three types of statements, how we can make use. So before going to the sequence of statements, so let us understand the statement. So let us understand the statement. So statement is nothing but as each and every individual instruction in a program is nothing but collection of instructions or set of instructions, which we call it as a program. So that simple statement. Okay, so statements are the instructions written in the source code given to the computer for executing any task. Okay, so there are different types of simple statements, which we call it as, those are called empty statement, simple statement, and compound statement. Okay, empty statement, it is the simplest statement, or more precisely we can say it is an empty statement which serves as a placeholder. So placeholder in Python. Pass, PASS. Pass is a special empty statement in Python that does nothing. So an empty statement which you can use in Python programming, that is PASS, pass. So you can place it this, which is a keyword also, which you can place it, and which does nothing in Python programming. Okay, so no action will be taken, but you can replace with that empty statement with your logic for the which you want to make use. Another one is simple statement. Another type of simple is simple statement. A simple statement in Python comprises a single logical statement. For example, consider the following single statement, like for example, if you want to read the name from the input through input keyboard, so name equal to input of enter your name. Okay, then print name. So whatever you read the name from the input, that you are printing. Okay, so that is what which we call it as simple statement. Okay, same way, x equal to 20 and print x, another simple statement. So like that, which you can place it in a program, simple statements. Then simple statements is described as a single executable statement in Python. Compound statement. A compound statement is a statement which comprises of a group of statements. Compound statement means which is a group of statements, like function which we created, and within the function you can have the multiple statements at same level. Okay, the compound statements usually execute when a condition is satisfied, or a code block is called directly or through a function call. Okay, so compound statements are spread into multiple logical lines or several single statements, but aligned together into a single unit, and aligned together into a single unit. Example like which you have taken up, that is function. Okay, example like that which you can make use. Now we will proceed here based on the general example which we have taken, preparing Maggi noodles as a food, which we have written an algorithm. So algorithm is a step-by-step procedure to calculate the result. Okay, so is called, which is a step-by-step procedure to calculate the result, is called an algorithm. There are different kinds of statements which you can see here based on the program execution. Those are sequence statements, selection statements, and another one is iterative statements. Okay, so general statements which we have, that is an empty statement, simple statement, and compound statement. Now we'll see the sequence statements. In this program, all the instructions are executed one after another. So example, so sequence statements means instructions are executed one after another. Example, write an algorithm to print good morning. So you can write a program to print good morning. Okay, so how you can write it? Step by step process. Algorithm is a step by step process. Step 1, start. Step 2, print good morning. Print good morning. Step 3, stop. Another example, write an algorithm to find area of a rectangle. So we know that area of rectangle logic. So area of rectangle equal to length into breadth. For that, how can write an algorithm? Step 1, start. Step 2, take length and breadth and store them as L and B variables. Okay. So take length and breadth and store them as L and B. And step 3, multiply by L and B and store it in area. And step 4, print area. Step 5, stop. In the above mentioned two examples, example 2 and 3, okay, whatever number which you can specify, all the instructions are executed one after another. These examples are executed under sequential statement. These examples are executed under sequential statements. So sequential statements, the way how we can execute one after another. Okay, we have taken two examples. One is to print the good morning message, another one is to calculate area of rectangle. Same way, selective statements. In this program, some portion of the program is executed based upon the conditional test. If the conditional test is true, compiler will execute some part of the program. Otherwise, it will execute the other part of the program. So example, write an algorithm to check whether he is eligible to vote. So more than or equal to 18 years old. Okay. So how can check the person is whether eligible or not to vote? So algorithm steps, step 1, start. Step 1, start. Step 2, take age and store it in age. Okay, take the age, either you want to read from the input or you can directly assign to the age variable. Step 3, check age value. If age greater than or equal to 18, then go to step 4, else step 5. Now based on current statement, step 3, so the condition becomes true, go to step 4. If condition becomes false, go to step 5. Okay. So step 4, what we have written, print eligible to vote and go to step 6. He is eligible to vote based on the condition, then you will be exiting the algorithm. Step 5, print not eligible to vote. If condition false, comes to here and then from here, so not eligible to vote, then which will stop the algorithm. So that is how which you can see selective statement based on the condition will execute part of the application. So another example, write an algorithm to check whether given number is positive or negative or 0. So another example for selective statements. Step 1, start. Step 2, take any number and store it in n, the variable n. Step 3, check n value. If n greater than 0, then go to step 5, else go to step 4. Step 4, what is there? Check n value. If n less than 0, then go to step 6, else go to step 7. Step 5, print given number is positive and go to step 8. Okay. So check value greater than 0. Okay. So greater than 0 means positive number. That is what, go to step 5. Step 5, what we have written? Given number is positive and go to step 8. Step 6, what we have written? Print given number is negative and go to step 8. So step 7, so print given number is 0. Okay. So then step 8, stop. In the above mentioned examples, 4 and 5, all the statements are not executed, but based upon the input, some portions of the algorithm are executed because we have true or false situation in the program. We have the true or false situation in the program. Based on that, some part of an application will be executed. So third type of statements, iterative statements. In some programs, certain set of statements are executed again and again based upon conditional test. There are some statements which is required to execute n number of times. That is executed more than one time. This type of execution is called looping or iteration. Okay. Executing the statements more than one time, the process of execution is called looping or iteration. Example, write an algorithm to print all natural numbers up to n. Okay. Step 1, start. Step 2, take any number and store it in n variable. Step 3, store 1 in I. So I is the, again here, looping variable, loop increment. Okay. So step 4, check I value. If I less than or equal to n, then go to step 5, else go to step 8. Step 5, print I. Step 6, increment I value by 1. Then step 5, go to step 4. Step 8, stop. Okay, so the process which you can see here one by one which takes place in the above example. So step 4, 5, 6 and 7 are executed more than one time, more than one time. So here step 7 we missed out, which you can see. So I missed out to write, this is not 5, this is 7. 5, 6, 7. So step 5, again here it is repeated, it's not 5 which is 7, 6, 7. Step 7 is go to step 4. Okay, so these are the statements which can be executed more than one time. Now that is what algorithm. So all algorithm, how can write an application. This is the step-by-step procedure to calculate the result is called an algorithm. Algorithm can be written in general English language, and which can be written in programming statements also within the algorithm itself. So that which we call it as an algorithm. So anyone can understand the algorithm. Then next one is flowchart. So in the previous section of this part, which we learned about what is planning, so how it will help you when you plan your application such a way that before writing a source code, then what are the statements, general statements, and then uh, what is an algorithm. So based on the program execution, again it was divided into three kinds of statements: sequential statements, selective statements, iterative or looping statements, which we saw. Now a flowchart. Okay, so we have learned to write an algorithms, that is step by step process of solving a problem. We can also show these steps in graphical form by using some symbols. Whatever we learn, the way how we can make use an application to show step by step process, same thing can be represented in the form of graphical representation, symbols. Okay, so that process is called flowchart. Flowchart symbols, which you can see some of the standard symbols along with respective functions, that are used for making flowchart are as follows. Flowchart are follows. You can see the symbol and functions. For symbol 1, which you can see vowel, which is used for either start flowchart and stop the flowchart. Okay, and second one is which you can see second one which you can see the process block, which we call it as a rectangles, the representation of, sorry, second one is input and output, which you can see parallelogram. Okay, parallelograms which you can use for input and output. Start and stop flowchart, which we use vowel, and parallelogram which we use for to give input and to print the output, and to process the logic, which we use rectangle. Okay, rectangle is used to calculate the result. And same way to check the condition, another symbol is to check the condition, which we call it as decision box. Diamond symbol, which we use to check the condition. And to connect each and every symbol in our flow chart, which we use flow of control, that is what which we call it as arrows. Arrow symbols, which we use to connect symbols in the pictorial representation, graphical notation of your symbols connectivity, which we use arrows, flow of control. And finally, which you can see another symbol, that is circle, which is used for a connector. Circle, which is used for connector. These are the some of the common symbols which we use when we try to create a flowchart, when we are trying to draw a flowchart for your application. Okay, now take it an example. The following flowchart is an example of sequential execution, like which we saw when we learned about algorithm. Different kinds of statements: sequential, selection, iterative. Each one we will see flowchart how can make use. The following flowchart is an example of sequential execution. Draw a flowchart to find the simple interest. Okay. So here example is draw a flowchart to find the simple interest. That is what sequential statements. So start, then input. So simple interest SI equal to PTR by 100. Okay, that is the formula generally which we know to calculate the simple interest. Now we started with vowel symbol, that is start, and then parallelogram which we used here, and to connect this vowel and parallelogram which we use the arrow mark. Okay, and input P, principal amount, rate of interest, and time, the duration. Okay, so that is what three variables input which you can take it. And then so which we use the rectangle, that is SI equal to PTR by 100. Okay, and then which we connected again, that is a parallelogram, that which you can see output print SI. SI is the variable which we store the calculated result, and finally which we use vowel again to stop the flowchart. Okay, so sequential example. Same manner, the following flowchart is an example of a selective execution. Example like draw a flowchart to find bigger number among two numbers which we call it as selective flowchart. Okay, so start again vowel symbol, input parallelogram a comma b, because we want to find out biggest among two numbers. And then you can see now in this time which we used earlier, which we use continuation step by step process in sequential statements, and in selective statement based on the condition which will move some part of the application execution. Okay, after reading the inputs which we are checking the condition. Okay, so a is greater than b, then if it is true, then right side which moves s, and print a is big. If a greater than b is false, that is left side of diamond symbol which you can see no, then which goes to the print b is big. And finally which will be connected that two parallelograms a and b values based on the condition which it executes. Finally vowel, that is stopped. Finally vowel, that is stopped. Okay, now move. The following are the examples of, okay, an iterative execution. Examples of iterative execution which you can see. Draw a flowchart to find factorial of any number. So if you want to calculate the factorial of any number, f equal to n into n minus 1. Okay, the formula which you can see. So here simplest way, the way how you can make use an flow chart. Start, input n, I equal to 1, f equal to 1 is I less than or equal to n. If it is true, I value, then as f equal to f into I equal to I plus 1. If it is false, then goes to print f. Okay, so that is how which you can do flow chart. Okay, now we are moving the control statements. Control statements are used to control the flow of execution depending upon the specified condition or logic. Control statements are used to control the flow of execution depending upon the specified condition or logic. There are three types of control statements which you can call it as. There are three types of control statements: decision making statements, iteration statements, that is what which we call it as loops, and jump statements like break, continue, and pass. So pass already it was explained you, that is an empty statement. So decision making statement is to control the flow of execution of your program depending upon condition. So there are four types of decision making statements. One is if statements, another one is if else statements, then if elif statements, and nested conditions. If elif is nothing but if else ladder, then nested if else statements. There are the different forms of if statements which you can make use. So if statements, an if statement is a programming conditional statement that if proved true performs a function or displays information. Let's take an example of flowchart how it works. If statement, Start, check the condition. If it is true, followed by statement executes, then which comes out of the condition. Then if false, condition is false, which comes directly end of the condition, comes out of the block of statement. Okay, so that is how simple if condition which works. If condition is true, then statement will be printed. If condition becomes false, there is no statement printing, the application which comes out of it. Okay, simple if statement. Same way, example which I can see, if condition followed by colon, so which is works like a compound statement. Okay, so followed by if condition, you can see the colon representation, then followed by statements, all same level statements. Example, you can take it as a number of books equal to 2. If number of books equal to 2, print you have 2 books, 2 statements which you have written. Okay, or else print outside of if statement. If condition is true, you are printing. If false, you are not printing, but this is outside the if function. Okay, if condition output, you have 2 books. Note, to indicate a block of code in Python, you must indent each line of the block by the same amount. Okay, in above example, both print statements are part of if condition because of both are at same level indented, but not the third print statement. So you have 2 books, these 2 values which we are printing at same level of statements within the if condition, and third print statement which is outside the, which is same part of if condition, the way how it was taken indentation, that is why which we call it as third statement is outside the if condition, if block. Okay, now, if statements using logical operator in if statement. X equal to 1, y equal to 2. If x double equal to 1 and y double equal to 2. We know that we studied logical operators and or not. So, and means both left and right conditions should become true, then only your condition becomes true. Otherwise, any one of the condition becomes false, then your entire result becomes false. So print condition matching the criteria. Condition matching the criteria. Output condition matching the criteria because both are true. Okay. Same way, a equal to 10, a equal to 10, and if not is another logical operator. If not a double equal to 20, print a is not equal to 20. Yes. So not a equal to 20 is true, a is not equal to 20. Because a equal to 100 which we initialize and we are checking with 20, to 20 is not equal to a. So the statement is according to the not operator which is true. Okay, if else statement, if else statement executes some code if the test expression is true and some other code if the test expression is false. So general if statement, if condition is true, then only you will get the followed by statement execution. False, there is no statement. But if else statement, if condition is true, followed by statement, if condition is false, again followed by statement which will be able to execute. So if else statement, you can see the general syntax of if else statement. If condition, statements, else statements. Example, a equal to 10. If a less than 100, okay, print less than 100. Okay, condition is true which prints less than 100. Okay, suppose if you say a equal to 10, condition is like if a greater than 100, then condition becomes false, then print more than equal 100. Okay, so write a program in Python to check that entered number is even or odd. You can try it the example. Okay, now nested if else statement. The nested if else statement allows you to check for multiple test expressions and execute different codes for more than 2 conditions. So if you have condition within the condition, if top level condition is true, then you can get into the inner condition. That is what which we call it as nested condition. There is another type, if else if condition. That is another, like which we call it as else if ladder, that I haven't shown here. While executing practical example, I will show you the way how you can make use else if condition. Okay, So nested if else statement, if condition, the syntax elif condition, okay, that is what here. But nested condition means condition within the condition. Yes, this also becomes part of nested condition. Okay, it's not full-fledged, part of it which you can say. Okay, so you can see the num equal to float or input, enter a number. If num greater than or equal to 0, yes, you can see this is what example clearly. Condition we are checking, immediately inner condition we are checking if num double equal to 0. Okay, for that syntax which we need to change, if condition statements, then again if condition statements, else statements, then you can say final else statements. Okay, now print 0 else positive number, else negative number output. Enter a number 5. So which is greater than or equal to 0, true, which gets into the inner condition. Num equal to 0, so which is false, which comes to the else part. Okay, positive number. So based on the input, this condition, top condition is outer condition true, inner condition false. So inner else block will be executed. Inner else block will be executed. That is what this positive number you will get as an output. Write a Python program to find out largest of three numbers, which you can try it by using this type of syntax. Okay, so for this, whichever we learned about different statements, introduction, algorithm, flowchart, and decision making statements. We will see each one with practical examples, the way how we can execute if conditions, different forms of if conditions. A further class, different forms of if conditions for further classes which you can make use, such a way that the way how we can make use decision making statements in Python programming. Decision making statements in Python programming. Each one we will see multiple examples for this decision making statements. Further class, the way how we can execute both interactive mode as well as script mode, how we can execute in Python. Practical examples we will see another session. So that's all of session. We'll continue with next session. Thank you.